Hello everyone, this is Erik, the Asian movie enthusiast, and this is my review of The Wailing, also known as Gok-sung, a South Korean horror film from 2016. So here's a plot synopsis for you. A small village is plagued by a mysterious sickness that drives its victims insane, leading to brutal murders of their family members. Now, after first suspecting poisoned plants as the cause, rumors spread that a quiet Japanese man from the nearby mountain forest may be intentionally cursing the residents. Now, as the investigating officer watches his own daughter fall under the same savage spell, he agrees to consult a shaman for answers. Now, I'm going to tell you right now what I think makes this film so fantastic. In my opinion, the greatest aspect of The Wailing is the story and the way the plot twists and turns. It's like a nasty snake, so to speak, that subverts the viewer's expectations and predictions. It does this very fluidly, I think, and naturally, because, it doesn't just randomly chuck in plot twists from out of left field. You know how some movies will be rolling along and then all of a sudden something will happen that surprises you but makes no sense because it just came from out of nowhere? The Wailing does not do this. Okay, everything feels very organic and smooth. But at the very same time, it masterfully creates a sense of uncertainty for the viewer. And that uncertainty greatly accentuates the underlying drama, because the main protagonist himself is faced with that very same uncertainty. Now, uncertainty is a term that I'm going to be using a lot in this review because that's really, I think, the main impact this film has on the viewer. I'll get to that in a second. So, for example, the aspect of who do you trust is a huge theme in this movie. And I must say that if I was faced with the same decision as our protagonist, I would have made the wrong decision. And that wrong decision that I theoretically made on behalf of our protagonist emotionally affected me and stayed with me long after this movie ended. I have watched and enjoyed, like many movie fans, thousands of movies. But the ones that stay with you after the final credits roll represent a fairly small percentage compared to the total. The Wailing is one of those films, and that is certainly something to admire about it. Another interesting thing I noticed regarding the story is that near the midpoint, there's a scene that could normally be used as a climax to a typical horror film, and the placement of that scene in the middle kind of throws the second half into uncertainty and makes things even more interesting, because you have that scene in the middle, and if you don't know the runtime, you may think that the film's about to end in the middle of the film. And then after that scene, it kind of swerves just a little bit, and you're left thinking, wow, where's it going from here? You know what I mean? And that makes it really interesting to watch. Now, the horror elements have a nice variety and avoid cheap scares. Now, obviously, you have, the sick humans themselves, the sick humans, so to speak, who have, boils and lesions all over their skin, on their face and their arms, and they viciously attack the healthy humans, throughout the film. But the spread of this disease is very slow, so you only get maybe a small handful or maybe even one sick person at any one time in the film. But since these people and their families die soon thereafter, it continues to slowly envelop the village, and consequently, the tone of the movie gets progressively more ominous until it becomes sufficiently uncomfortable and scary during the latter half. The shaman exorcism scenes are intense, nicely intense, and the finale it's probably the most disturbing sequence in the entire film, but it has some great dramatic tension that supplements the horror. Always the hallmark of a great horror film. Now, one minor complaint that I have regarding The Wailing is that there was probably a few minutes that could have been carved out of the opening hour, because it takes a little while to get going. There's actually quite a bit of horror content right from the start, near the beginning, but I did feel like some of the character moments during the opening hour could have been clipped maybe a little bit. Kind of shore it up, help the pacing along during the beginning section of the film. But the rest of the film is perfectly paced. One reason for this is that there is tons of detail and subtlety to provoke repeat viewings. This is not a film that you can watch once and get everything, I don't think. You have to watch it multiple times and maybe just, study it a little bit. Really think about what's going on to get everything that's going on. A very thought-provoking movie, both in terms of its thematic content as well as, a little bit of puzzle solving that's spliced in. The Wailing definitely forces the viewer to use their brain, to put two and two together and fill in some of the gaps themselves, using some clues that are subtly peppered throughout. You know what I mean? So I think this film definitely does make sense, but you got to think about it a little bit. Acting is solid all around, so that's a nice plus. Now, this is a beautifully shot film by Hong-jin Na, the man who previously directed the very popular film The Chaser from 2008, as well as the, I think, somewhat underappreciated film The Yellow Sea from 2010. If you have not seen either one or both of those movies, you have to check both of those out. You have to. They're very good. Some movie fans I've seen and read have said that Na is their favorite director on the planet right now. And, considering the 3 films that he has under his belt right now, I can't really come up with a convincing argument otherwise. He's certainly one of my favorites going on right now. So this is a guy who's, I personally cannot wait to see what he does next. He's one of those directors. But I can only hope that it doesn't take another 6 years for him to release a movie. Don't rush into things, but let's get things moving a little faster this time, please. So The Wailing comes highly recommended by yours truly. And in terms of availability, you're in luck because it just recently came out on DVD and Blu-ray in the United States. So, as always, we'll see you next time.